This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we give you feedback so you can reach your next level. My name is Jason Schroeder, and today's podcast is titled, You Will Fail If. If you want to be successful, you have to do what successful people do. That's the quote that I have for you today. If you want to be successful, you have to do what successful people do. And conversely, you have to stop doing the things that unsuccessful people do. So I really think it's helpful sometimes to look at who are the worst foremen, who are the worst field engineers, who are the worst superintendents, who are the worst project managers, and let's definitely not do what they're going to do or what they have been doing, because you're going to end up in the exact same way. In fact, one of the saddest things that I've seen in this industry is a young field engineer or foreman pattern his or her life around an unsuccessful superintendent or project manager who won't get promoted, and there's really just some bad habits and bad practices and bad philosophies. And then the younger apprentice takes on those philosophies, those opinions, and continues to be unsuccessful themselves. I think it would be better for us to note, who's getting promoted the fastest, who is the most effective, who is giving the most, who is the leader that is selfless, that's out there trying to make a difference, who do I want to be like? And if we did that, I just think we would be better served, because we would head in a better direction. One thing that I've always appreciated about Tony Robbins' trainings, he always focuses on getting a good mentor and picking good mentors, people you want to be like, and then pattern your life after that. So let me tell you a little story. I can't mention this person's name. Obviously, it would be inappropriate, but this person was a field engineer on a very, very large project. He would lay out things on site that were like 6 feet off, a foot off, anchor bolts would be wrong, and he was making mistakes over and over and over and over. And I was called down, and I had to travel 2 hours to get there, but I was called down to try and train this person and really help them out. So I would drive down there a couple times, in fact. I would do lift drawing training, I would do layout training, I would do all of these things, and he kept saying, I got it, and continued to make mistakes. What I found out was he wasn't buying into the double check, triple check system. He was a very smart man, and so smart, in fact, that he thought he could get it right the first time, every time. Anybody that knows field engineering or survey knows that that's impossible, and that we have to switch our mindset to get it right the first time, to do it and double, triple check. The only way we're going to get it right is if we double check it, because we've assumed that it might be wrong. Well, he wouldn't do that. He was so arrogant and so confident in his mental ability that he wouldn't double check. And time after time after time, he was just getting it wrong. And every time he would justify why his process was still right. I really got the feeling that he was trying to justify why it was right because he wanted to prove how smart he was and wanted to prove that, his feeling of self-importance was properly placed on his intelligence, and he wanted recognition for that. And so he continued and would not listen because he was stubborn, he was prideful, he was adhering to his own principles instead of receiving training and teaching. And I got a call from the general superintendent, and he said, Jason, we're still having trouble. What should we do? And I said, we really ought to let him go, because it's not going to get any better. There's no humility there. And so he was let go, and then I met him years and years later, and he's still a project engineer. He's been in his career about, 15 years and not progressing because of this one prideful habit of not double checking and relying too much on his intelligence. And I checked the other day, he's still in one of the similar positions. This one habit has hindered him so much when he has the intelligence to go as far as he wanted, as long as he was adhering to proper techniques. We just really have to stay away from these bad concepts. And there are some concepts, there are some points of view common with project managers, with superintendents, field engineers, that do not create success in this industry. And you would do well to self-reflect and see if you have any of these, and then correct that behavior and any of those attitudes in any of the following that I'm about to list. And so I've decided in this podcast to list out 19, or actually there's 20 concepts, the thoughts, habits, destructive principles that if you are following this, you will be hindered to a certain extent in your career. I don't know if it's a little, I don't know if it's a lot, but you will be hindered. So let's start out. I hope you enjoy this list. If you do any of these things, don't get mad at me. Say, how can I neutralize this weakness, and maybe not focus on trying to make it a strength, but neutralize it and then focus on your strengths that you do have to take you as far as you can go. So number one, if you are a wimpy leader and you don't hold people accountable, people like this will be the most dangerous people in this industry, because if they're wimpy, they won't keep cleanliness, they won't keep organization, they won't keep safety, they can't lead, they won't rally teams, and they won't hold other people accountable and correct bad behavior. So you might have really bad behavior that's an HR issue, or you might have a fatality or an injury because of this type of a person. So if you find yourself, in fact, there's a superintendent that I know that I love, that I just absolutely adore. He is smart enough to be my boss and to go as far as he wants, but because he's so wimpy about holding people accountable, he's stuck in his position and wants some of the lower level superintendent positions. Absolutely a shame. And every time I talk to him, he's like, Jason, I know I should do this, but I just can't. So if you're a wimpy leader and you don't hold people accountable, not only will you be dangerous, but you will be held back in your career. Number two, if you are not organized. I've said this in previous podcasts, but people that are not organized usually don't make it past Super 2 or PM 2 according to the FMI scale of positions. It's just not going to happen, because there's no way for you to remember everything. And if you're not organized, you can't lead larger teams. So you'll always be stuck in those lower levels, which those lower levels are fine. But if you want to make it to PM Super 3, 4, 5, you're not going to do it without organization, which leads into item number 3, if you can't delegate. The biggest difference between a Super 2 and 3, a PM 2 and a 3, is the ability to delegate, to set clear expectations, to communicate to that person, and to give that person enough latitude and then follow up according to artful delegation. If you can't do that, you will get stuck. Number 4, if you do not speak up. Now, this might offend some people, but that's fine. I'm here to try and help you. If you're introverted or extroverted, I don't care. You need to speak up. I see time and time again in this industry, there's a project engineer or field engineer or somebody else who just doesn't like to talk, just doesn't like to communicate, would rather just not do it, and has self-justified why that's okay. Oh, this is who I am. This is authentic. This is me. I'm not going to change for anybody else. Hey, that's fine. But you won't be successful in your career. The most successful people speak up continuously and constantly. We are professional communicators. Number 5, if you are not mentally alert and sharp. Now, how could somebody change this? Why would I even list this down? Well, to be sharp, you need to have a healthy body. To be mentally alert, you constantly need to be learning things. So if you have dulled yourself by constantly just going home and watching TV, drinking every night, doing whatever you're doing, which is, this destructive behavior, and you're not mentally alert, you're not mentally sharp, you are suffering from cognitive decline, then you will not make it in construction as far as you want to. And for those who you are mentoring, if you're listening to this podcast, if you have people that aren't sharp, they're not mentally sharp, they're just not that smart, you might get them into a position with the proper training and disciplines to where they can be successful in a fixed position. So you have to be mentally alert and sharp. Number 6, if you fail to acquire technical skills. I hear over and over field engineers that have been a field engineer for 6 months and they want their next promotion. Same thing with PEs. And they've failed to acquire technical skills. And I have to keep saying this. This isn't bragging. I'm certified in Revit. I'm certified in AutoCAD. I know how to use all of the, Navisworks Manage. I know how to use, Google SketchUp. I know how to use details of AutoCAD as they tie into Civil 3D. I know how to use data collectors, robotic total station. I can just keep going on and on. I know how to use Excel. I know how to use P6. I know these fundamental skills because I've trained with them. And field engineers want to get promoted after 6 months or a year and go on to their next position. They don't know any of these technical skills. They won't have these tools in their tool belt when they're a Super 2 to get promoted to a Super 3, or a PM2 to get promoted to a PM3. You have to learn these technical skills. You have to learn the tricks of your trade, the skills of your trade. You have to put in the time. You have to learn the applications. You have to learn the techniques. You have to learn the math. You have to learn these things, or else you will be hindered. The more time you spend getting these fundamentals, the better off you will be in the future. Number 7, if you communicate poorly. Now, and number 4, I said if you don't speak up. But number 7, if you do speak up, but you communicate poorly, meaning you're not understandable, or you stutter, or you stammer, or you're offensive, or you're, racially insensitive or culturally insensitive to people, then you will not succeed in construction. I knew of a superintendent a while back, when we were about to tour the job. The general superintendent said, "Hey, he's a great guy. He's a good builder, but man, you won't be able to talk to him." And sure enough, when we went there, it's really hard to talk to this person, and he's not going to make it to his next level because constantly saying offensive things, not communicating clearly. Trade partners are frustrated. You need your trade partners. You need your workers on site to support you if you want to get promoted. Number 8, if you do not learn. Now, this is a big one. If a superintendent isn't constantly reading, isn't constantly every year doing certification trainings, isn't constantly, taking safety training, isn't always sharpening the saw, sharpening the axe, then they won't get promoted. Like I said, all of the general superintendents, directors, project managers, senior project managers that I know are reading, learning, studying, going to training. And there's a big difference between those folks and the folks that are like, I don't read. Oh, I don't go to those trainings. Oh, I don't need that. I know what I need to know. There's a big difference. And number 8, you need to learn. Number 9, if you lack drive and passion, and I don't even have to explain this one. If you don't have drive, you don't have passion, you're kind of like Eeyore and you don't really have a lot in you, you're not going to get promoted. Let's just skip to the next one. Number 10, if you have a bad attitude. People with bad attitudes are just cancerous. If you have a bad attitude, if you're too cool for school, if you're always bucking against the system, bucking against the company, you're not going to get very far. In fact, I know of this one field engineer, super sharp guy, has a lot of potential, great education. He was going to one of the field engineer boot camps, and he's like, Jason, all of this motivation and life stuff and coming out of your comfort zone and performing at a higher level, there's nothing that you're going to do that can affect me. I know what I need to know, and this isn't going to do it for me. And that guy got put on a performance improvement plan and got kicked out of boot camp, not by me, but by his actual project supervisors, because his attitude that he was proud of, bucking against the system, was affecting him in other areas of his life, and he wasn't giving 100% and caring about the vision of the company. Number 11, if you are dishonest, meaning you don't strive to tell the truth 100% of the time, and you're not open and transparent, you will not succeed. Number 12, if you do not receive feedback with an open mind or at all. All of us have so many things that we need to fix and to correct in our personalities and our performance. If you don't receive feedback, if you're not constantly improving, then you're going to be a liability to your team, and that needs to be fixed 100%. Number 13, if you engage in criminal behavior. I'm not even going to explain that one, because obviously you need to make sure that everything you do is correct. Everything you do is by the law. I remember a craftsperson that wanted to be promoted to a salary position, and when we were going through it, a truck is part of those benefits, and he had too many DUIs. We couldn't give him the truck, so we couldn't give him the promotion, and these things will hang on his record for a long time, and he's not going to get there just because of a couple of DUIs. I mean, do not engage in criminal behavior. Number 14, if you harass or discriminate against others, not only should you not have a job, but you will lose your job if you participate in harassment or discrimination. I can't tell you how many times somebody's come to me and said, Jason, this PM, and most of the time it's supers, just posted a Facebook or a LinkedIn post that's racially offensive. What are we going to do? My first answer is we need to terminate that employee, to set an example. You cannot have these weird, discriminative, and sexist and harassing opinions and behaviors, and do that on social media or at other times, because your opinions will filter out and it will come to pass and people will find out about them. Number 15, if you don't care about people. I remember trying to implement morning worker huddles with a certain superintendent, and it just wasn't going well. And I went out and observed, It's because he came across as just a complete jerk, doesn't care about people, doesn't really like people, was like lecturing and criticizing the people in these huddles. And the huddles are supposed to build camaraderie and build a social group. And he's like, don't really care about all this people stuff. I just want to do my job. I'm not here to make friends. They just need to go do what they're told. And so people like that just aren't going to succeed. They're not going to be able to win people over. They're not dynamic leaders. Number 16, if you lack people skills. So how many times have we heard of superintendents that, oh, they know what they're doing, they're in the industry, but man, they just can't get trades to work with them. They're not very nice. They don't get collaboration. They can't lead people. They lack people skills. Owners don't like to work with them. If you have this problem, you're not going to succeed. Number 17, if you repeat mistakes. Number 18, if you only have bad project experience. Now, this is a big one. If you have only been on bad projects, if you have only been on projects that crash land, if you have only been on projects where safety isn't good, if you have only been on bad projects where you just don't make budget, you don't make schedule, you're not really doing good quality, you have to rip a lot of stuff up, you are in a hopeless situation. It can be fixed, but you are in a hopeless situation. That doesn't mean you can't fix it. It means that people in your experience, if you've only experienced the bad, tend to get into this learned hopelessness where they're like, yep, that's just how it is. That's how it's always going to be. Can't change it. No big deal. And those people are a liability. If you haven't been on projects where it's like, this was amazing, this was landmark, there was this really great idea, we've had a positive experience, we finished on time. If you haven't had some wins in your career, then you are a liability until we snap you out of that and get you on a good project. You have to have good project experience to then go do good projects yourself. That's a big one. Number 19, if you have no grit, if you don't have the grit to get through hard situations, if you don't have the grit to push through, if you don't have the grit to go do the right thing, if you don't have the grit to get through hard things, then you will suffer, you will fail. And then the last one, if you don't give first and try to create value for the world and you're just always taking, that's going to be a big problem. People are failing and they don't know what to do. I just told you, don't do these 20 things. Don't do them. Don't be around people that do them. Don't have friends that do those things. Get rid of any negative influences in your life. And then that will be step 1. Step 2, go find people who are successful and go watch them. This is the challenge. Watch other people, watch successful people, and go do what they do. Always ask for feedback, find a mentor, and always adhere to the things that make people successful. The vision for this is that you know the things not to do so that you can focus on the things that you should be doing. Neutralize these bad things. Keep your own list, whatever you want to do, and head towards a remarkable career. I hope this helps. If you have any need for clarifications or questions, please reach out to me at Jason S. at elevateconstructionist.com or check us out on our website or Facebook or LinkedIn. We're here to help. I hope this helps. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.